So, the Dutch language, or Nederlands, is the national language of the Netherlands and Belgium. It's also official in Suriname and the Dutch Caribbean. A dollar language of Dutch is spoken in South Africa and Namibia, where it is called Afrikaans. The languages are more or less mutually intelligible. Dutch is spoken by about 17 million people in the Netherlands, 6.5 million in Belgium, and another half million in South America and the Caribbean. 4 million people speak it as a second language, mainly in the French-speaking regions of Belgium and again in South America. In total, it's spoken by about 24 million natively. Combined with the second language speakers, this would make 28 million people. Dutch is an Indo-European language, part of the Germanic branch. It is a West Germanic language just like German and English. The current standard Dutch is a descendant of a language spoken by the Franks who lived in the first millennium AD. They lived around the Rhine and once conquered almost all of France. Frankish, Franconian, or Eastphalic dialects are spoken in this area, and in the northern province of Friesland, Frisian is spoken. Frisian is an official regional language in the Netherlands, while in the west, Low Saxon dialects are spoken. An important thing to notice, however, is that while the standard language is based on dialects spoken here, and is thus Eastphalic, Frisian is an entirely different, unintelligible language, and it is linguistically way closer to English. More dialects of Frisian are spoken in Germany and Denmark. Low Saxon dialects fall under Low German, which is spoken in this area. The language is mostly unintelligible with Dutch, and it lacks a standard spelling. Dutch and Low Saxon have been developing differently for over 1,000 years, and the actual Franconian dialects are also spoken in a small area of France and Germany. However, in urban areas, almost no dialects are spoken anymore. The youth nowadays only speaks the standard language, and dialects are only spoken in rural areas and by the older population. The first written piece of Dutch is said to be the Burkakker inscription found in Tiel. It represents about what 5th century Frankish would have been like. It is written in runes and should have sounded something like Hathuthi was aan Kusham Loguns, which in Dutch would be something like Hathuthi geeft de gekozenen zwaarden, meaning Hathuthi gives swords to the chosen ones. Old Dutch is said to be the language spoken in this area until about 1070. A document is found and it contains a phrase of a monk trying out his pen. He wrote down something in Dutch and in Latin, and it sounds something like Haban ola voga la nestas hagunan hinasikan latu wat umbiramanu, meaning all birds have begun next except for me and you. What are we waiting for? This phrase became very famous. All documents in Dutch don't really exist anymore because no one at that time wrote it down. Latin was the only language actually being written down. A few centuries later, while the Dutch Republic was fighting for independence from Spain in the 17th century, the Bible was translated into Dutch. The language of this book became the standard language. This is why modern Dutch came to be. Dutch grammar is very similar to German grammar with some noticeable differences. As for nouns, they have 3 genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter. But what has happened in Dutch, as has in Scandinavia, is that the masculine and feminine have merged to become a common gender. In this way, it differs from German. German is notoriously known for its cases. Dutch used to have them, but they weren't pronounced anymore in everyday speech. So in the spelling reform of 1948, they were abolished. Nowadays, only personal pronouns have cases, and they're also visible in fixed expressions. Verbs are conjugated for present and past, and with auxiliary verbs, it is possible to have 8 grammatical tenses. Word order is V2, which means verbs always come second. For example, you see this sentence always means tomorrow I will eat cookies at school, but depending on the focus of the sentence, the word order changes, but the verb always remains the second place. In subordinate clauses, word order is SOV, which can become a little bit confusing, so the verb comes at the end. Syntax is very important in Dutch. If you don't get it right, your word order, it sounds odd. And in the same way that German does, a lot of words can just be put together to create a new word. This German word in Dutch will be rechtsbeschermingsverzekeringsmaatschappijen. And the longest word in the dictionary is meervoudig persoonlijkheidsstoornissen, meaning multiple personality disorders. But in theory, you can just put an infinite amount of words together, and you make like crazy words which don't make any sense. As you can see the translation here. When you hear Dutch, you probably always think we say is. This might be because we have 2 different phonemes for and they occur a lot. all G's in English, for example, are g in Dutch, so good becomes goed. The alphabet consists of these 26 letters, and this one digraph is more often than not considered one letter. The Dutch vowel system is also very complex, having 10 checked and free vowels and 15 diphthongs. Dutch orthography is very consistent, but it's not phonological, so well, consonants are doubled to reduce vowel length, which makes sense, right? But there's a very crazy rule, and I won't explain it to you, but don't be scared when you get confused by something like this, in which the amount of vowels changes depending on the suffix it gets. But don't be scared. Final devoicing is very confusing with verbs, and it causes this crazy system of spelling rules in which involve sheep, and no, that's for another time. There are very regular sound shifts between Dutch, English, and German. Just keep in mind this table, and words will be fairly easy to recognize. Also some example sentences. De muis lust kaas omdat hij smaak heeft. Die mouse mag käse weil sie Geschmack hat. The mouse likes cheese because it has taste. Gisteren zag ik een koekje op de tafel, maar iemand had gestolen en daarom ligt het er niet meer. Gestern sah ich einen Keks auf dem Tisch, aber jemand hat ihn gestohlen und darum ist er da nicht mehr. Yesterday I saw it on the table, but someone had stolen it and thus it is not there anymore. Also differences between Netherlandic and Flemish, in vowels. Long vowels tend to be diphthongized in Netherlandic, so long E is an A, and in Belgium it will be a E, and the other diphthongs are monophthongized in Belgium, so ui is an E. Vowels are pronounced less harsh, so the g is a g in Belgium. It's a little bit softer. Also, the second person singular in Belgium a lot of times is gij, which has a very different conjugation pattern, and you have, of course, differences in vocabulary and this crazy differences in usage of words. If you want to learn Dutch, pronunciation is going to be the most difficult thing, I think. The vocabulary is easy to learn if you already know English, and grammar won't be very hard for you. It has some inexplicable curiosities, but you have to live with that. Syntax will be a struggle for almost everyone except Germans, and well, anyway, I think you might have fun learning it if you're interested in Dutch culture, etc. And online resources aren't that scarce, so well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Next up is going to be Hungarian or the Chinese dialect, so let me know what you want next up. So bye.